Hi, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are visiting for the first time, my name is Anne. I love creativity and hope that what I've learned along the way in regards to making, sculpting and making silicone dolls, polymer clay babies and reborn dolls may be of some benefit to you. I am not claiming to be an expert. I'm only showing you what I do through the requests that I have been given, and if you can pick something up along the way, that is fantastic. If you can't, well, but in order to continue watching me, you'll have to subscribe to my channel. Now, I have been asked to demonstrate sculpting a polymer clay baby in respect to making it a silicone baby once it's finished. So, cut to the chase, I will share with you my tips, but I will say, first and foremostly, that I think the sculptors all sculpt differently. That's my opinion. And even with the same sculptor, like in this case myself, I will sculpt differently depending on many factors. So what I might do with this baby, in a particular, which I'll show you in the particular manner, may not be the same as I do next time. So it's really, really hard to teach someone how to sculpt. It's trial and error and a lot of practice on your part. I can only show you what I do and what results I get, which, like I said, there are a lot of sculptors out there, much, much better than me, but I can only do what I can do. Okay, so we're going to be sculpting a full body, I think, yeah, a full-bodied baby. We'll start with the head. I always start with the head. And all this is just aluminium foil that's been squished together and in basically a little shape of the head. I can see there, that might be the chin. You can't see it, but I can. And the back of the head and so on. Of course, you're going to be adjusting your clay as you go along. Now, I use the Super Sculpty for silicone babies. Silicone, in other words, clay babies that are going to become silicone. And I find it's easy to work with. It's a good clay. I don't use it for polymer clay, one-of-a-kind babies. I use Living Doll because I find that the Super Sculpty is inclined to, when you're baking it, is inclined to have moonies on it, and I wouldn't want that. I want polymer clay, one-of-a-kind one. So all I'm doing is taking a roller. I didn't even condition the clay, so I'm just rolling it out and trying to keep the same thickness on both sides. You can if you want to condition the clay, and that's just basically quite easy to do, but it's just squishing the clay together until you get it nice and soft. But I find with this clay it works pretty well this way as well, and it saves time. So you get your aluminium armature, if you wish to call it that, and you start wrapping it in this clay. At the moment, in the beginning, you'll just get just bits of clay here and there until it's all covered, and we'll worry about the seams once this has been covered. Okay, so this size head would probably make, I estimate, about a 10 to 12 inch baby, but we'll see. I never sort of can tell 100% until I've actually made them. So, and that's just me. I've oftentimes made a head that's too big for the body, or vice versa, so I have to make other ones. Yeah, it's just the nature of the beast, isn't it, really? So, well, it is for me. We'll just continue on piling the clay up here. And worrying about the seams later. So we'll just squish this one in to cover that base. so that there's no aluminium foil showing. There we go. And you'll also find with clay, easier to use and sculpt with when the weather's warm, because your hands are warm as well. Whereas, like today, it's a bit of the cool side, and it's a little bit more difficult to sculpt. Not that this clay's pretty soft, so that's good. But yeah, it always is a little bit more difficult when it's cold. But then on the other hand, if it's too warm and your hands are too warm, your clay can end up feeling like chewing gum, which is also very difficult to work with, because it just, you make one part and then you sort of tend to squish the other part, and that doesn't help. So now we're just going to cover the top of this, and as you can see, all it looks like is a mess, really, and it won't look like a baby for quite some time. I'm just going to move this camera up a little bit. Okay, so put this aside, and now what we begin to do is just using your finger. You can use tools. I use a lot of the time my thumbs and fingers to sculpt, but that's a personal preference. But yes, by all means, you can use your tools, your favourite tools. You will get to know which ones they are by trial and error. I have heaps of tools. When I was first starting out, I invested in just about every sculpting tool there was, and I only use about 3 or 4 of them. They're my favourites, and don't feel the need to use anymore. So yeah, just buy a few at a time, especially if you're just starting out, because you're not going to know which ones you're going to want in the end, which ones suit you. So yeah, you just keep on going. At this point in time, I'm not worrying so much about the shape of the head. All of that will come together as we go along, and there will be more clay added, obviously. At this point in time, all I'm doing is just smoothing out the seams. So there we go, nearly there. Anyway, so keep on going until you've got a nice smooth ball of clay. And you can use this method. You can also use a glass top. You always work on a clean glass top, and you can use that. See how it's smoothing it out. If you want to give your hands a rest. So there's another method. I don't know what's wrong with me this morning. I'm not talking very well. Smooth again. See there on the glass top, just roll it out. And the more you work with clay also, the more flexible it becomes as you warm it up with your own body temperature in your hands. And yeah, so just keep rolling, or keep smoothing, I should say. And as I said, don't worry about what the head shape looks like now. I certainly don't. Because that's all going to change. Okay, I'll be back.